Okay, so it's time for questions now. So if people who have watched the presentation would like to go first and ask the questions that they have.
Okay, so as you said that there's a low budget, so where are you intending to film? What location? Like where?
Well, we intend to film the vast majority of the scenes quite local areas. We are going to have equipment that will be provided to us as well, so that's what we plan to do for that.
Yeah. So seeing as you have a very violent opening, how are you gonna film that? Are you gonna show like the actual violence, or are you gonna like cut the scenes, or?
When he smashes his head, we could show it, but I think it'll be a lot more easier if it'll fade to black or cut to black before he hits his head, but maybe adding a sound effect when he's showing the black.
How does your story relate to the audience?
Overly, I would hope that it relates to the audience because of the student sort of aspect of it, because we're using young actors such as myself as like the actual main characters of it, so I'd hope that some characters could relate to it, but it's quite possible that it can't. But because the given age in the brief was 16 to 24, the younger age of the spectrum that we were given in the brief, it would most likely, from my eyes, appeal to them because of the student sort of area that we have.
Okay, lovely, thank you. I've got a few questions. So, Aidan, you talked about there about local locations. Where specifically locally?
We're thinking to stay around a reasonable place, local to where we are based.
Yeah, such as, if I was going to go there and meet you, where is this local place?
Probably be on the Iron Bridge.
Yeah, okay, so the Iron Bridge, can you just explain for the moderator, because they don't live here, so what would the Iron Bridge be?
Okay, the Iron Bridge is a bridge that goes over like a railway, which leads over to another school, which I think is quite a good place because obviously it's a youngster, and if it's near a school then it makes it even more realistic.
Yeah, so that relates kind of to what Ben's talking about with the students, and also it's quite a bleak location, isn't it? It's the sort of place where violence actually does really happen. It's that quite a cliched place for that. What else do you think you might need to spend any money on? Not that you have any real money, but what might you need to think about in terms of a bit of spending you might have to do? Is there anything else?
Not really. We might need to spend some money on maybe props, possibly something that the criminal might use, or something that the victim of the crime might need to use. But
what about costumes? What are you doing for costumes?
Costumes probably is also something we need to consider, because we need to make sure that the costume and what the people are wearing kind of symbolises their character.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Ramon, you talked about special effects and that you wouldn't have a big budget for doing sort of CGI and stuff, and that you'd have to you said they'd be practical rather than technical. How are you going to use special effects to show the hallucinations, or are we, the audience, not meant to know they are hallucinations?
I don't think the audience is supposed to know. They're supposed to figure out themselves, like the characters. I think that will be more technical as well. So maybe it'll show like a scene of the character looking somewhere, and then all of a sudden someone's there, so we could like put this like same shot but add in a different clip of someone actually being in that shot.
And that might be like a flash, and then they're not there anymore, that kind of thing. So you're going to do it probably quite a lot through planned editing, because that will have to be quite well set up to work. Okay, I mean, you could also maybe think about your colour palette and maybe pulling some colour out of those hallucination shots. Not loads, but just a little bit, so there's a sense when you're watching it it's something different, but you can't quite work out what. So you might want to think about that a little bit, how you're going to signify that. That's another thing I was going to ask you about. If it's an independent organisation, it's an independent film, why is it a mainstream audience?
Because it's a thriller genre. I think that's quite a mainstream genre that loads of people like. and it wouldn't be a niche for a niche audience because it's not like something a certain fan base will like. It's like something everyone can watch.
So you think it's something that quite a lot of people could relate to?
Yeah.
Yeah, so therefore that's why you've kept it quite broad. Okay, thanks. Ben, you said there about some of the characters who are going to be in the film. Are they going to be, or all of them going to be in that opening sequence, or you just give us an overview?
No, not all of them are going to be in that opening sequence. The main characters that will probably feature in that sequence will probably just be the three characters at the top, so the victim, the criminal, and Joshua himself. But
And how are you going to cast them so that they're believable? And presumably we've got to like Joshua, have we, as an audience? Is he the hero of the piece?
I guess the heroic act of him, or attempt of heroic act of him trying to intervene in the actual mugging would sort of appeal to the audience to show that he's a likeable person as a character. But
Yeah.
in terms of the criminal and the victim, I feel like I don't think we really touched up upon that because it was more like we had Joshua as the main character and Joshua as the main protagonist, and the audience views everything from his view.
Because we're not particularly going to go back to the victim at all in the whole film.
No.
No, and then the perpetrator may or may not be revealed. Or do they come back in the hallucinations, or...?
The criminal would be coming...
Right, so
up
we'll have to
towards
think
the
about
end.
that a little bit then in
Yeah.
terms of planning that. Okay. What is in the plot? How are you structuring the plot in terms of narrative? Is it a linear narrative?
I would say... No, I wouldn't say it's linear because there's more... I would say it would be going one way and then it would stem off to something else because of the hallucinations that he has, and then it'd be like backwards, if anything. So it'd be going linear. I can't really explain it. It's a weird one. It's like
So it's going forward, but then
He
something
has a
from his will be
hallucination.
going backwards. So that, although the overall plot is going forward,
yeah,
for us to be able to do that, he has to find some things out from the past.
yeah, he would have to move on from like a hallucination or something that he would be constantly getting.
Okay, so you might have a look at Bart's Enigma and Action Codes because that might work quite well to sort of define your idea a little bit. This is a question really for everybody in the group. What sort of other films, although I think Aidan said there's not really anything like this, what other films, either thriller or otherwise, have inspired your idea?
Well, I think that actually The Chronicle was very similar in some ways because that was involved quite a bit of violence happening and a lot of stuff just because of from the mind that made a lot of the stuff happen in the film and made some of the stories that happen in there possible.
Okay.
Yeah, because in that movie, there's also teenagers, and one of the teenagers that gets the powers, he becomes crazy, so that could also be what happens to our character.
Okay, so there's some influence from that, is that film or TV series?
Film.
Film, okay.
There was a film, I can't remember the name of the... It was about an older... in terms of age, it wasn't
Yeah.
following our age group, but it was about a man whose wife is killed, and then he receives a brain injury, but he forgets everything, but he's trying to find out who the killer is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that does relate to our sort of area a little bit, but not the killing aspect. And
Not the killing, maybe not the
not the forgetting area.
but there are some elements maybe in the flashback or whatever that they have, or... Okay, is that Memento, that film?
Yeah, it's Memento.
Okay. Alright, lovely. Has anyone got any other questions? No? Nothing anyone can think of? Alright, thank you very much. Well done.